Think back to your 7th birthday party. Try to picture the cake, the friends, and the presents you received that day. Can you see it clearly? Can you feel the excitement? And can you remember the taste of the icing on that cake? What if I told you that the memory you just conjured, the one that feels so real and so personal, might be a complete fabrication? What if the color of the cake is wrong? What if a friend you remember wasn't even there? And what if your brain invented the entire scene based on a photograph you saw years later? This isn't just a wild theory. It's a deeply unsettling truth about the human mind that psychologists have been studying for decades. And in this video, we're going to peel back the layers of your consciousness to reveal why your most cherished memories are probably fake, to understand why your memories are so unreliable. You first have to throw out the most common misconception about them. Your memory doesn't work like a video camera, meticulously recording events exactly as they happened. Instead, think of your memory as a creative storyteller, one that takes fragments of real experience and weaves them into a coherent narrative, often filling in the gaps with plausible-sounding fiction. This process is called reconstruction, and it happens every single time you recall a past event. Your brain isn't playing back a file. It's actively rebuilding the memory from scratch, using whatever information it has available at that moment. The result is a memory that feels complete and accurate, but is in fact a mix of truth and subtle, or sometimes significant, invention. Every psychologist will tell you there are 3 key stages to memory: encoding, where you first perceive and process information; storage, where that information is maintained over time; and retrieval, where you access the information later. The shocking truth is that errors and distortions can creep in at every single one of these stages, corrupting the memory before it's even fully formed. Let's start with the first point of failure: encoding, which is the very moment a memory is born. You believe you're taking in the world around you like a sponge, but your brain is actually incredibly selective about what it pays attention to, and you simply cannot and do not process every single detail of an experience. Imagine you're at a loud, chaotic concert. You're focused on the singer on stage, and you're enjoying the music. You might remember the singer's facial expressions perfectly, but you probably won't remember the pattern on the shirt of the person standing next to you because your brain deemed it unimportant and filtered it out completely. This is called selective attention, and it creates massive gaps in the initial information your brain encodes. Your emotional state also dramatically influences this stage, as feeling stressed or scared can cause you to focus narrowly on a perceived threat while ignoring everything else. Psychologists have demonstrated this with something called the weapon focus effect, where victims of a crime can often describe the weapon used in intricate detail, but they can't remember the face of the person holding it. Their brain, in a state of fear, decided the weapon was the most important detail to encode, sacrificing everything else and creating a powerful but fundamentally incomplete memory from the very beginning. This means that even seconds after an event has happened, the memory is already a distorted and incomplete version of reality. It's a sketch, not a photograph, and it's missing huge chunks of information. Your brain's first job wasn't to record the truth. It was to record what seemed most important for your survival, and those 2 things are rarely ever the same. Now, let's say a memory makes it past the faulty encoding stage. It now has to survive the second challenge: storage. Memories are not locked away in a vault. They are dynamic, living things that degrade and change over time, much like a photograph left out in the sun. This is simple memory decay, where neural connections weaken over time, causing details to fade into obscurity. But something far more sinister is also at play. a phenomenon known as the misinformation effect. The pioneering psychologist Elizabeth Loftus demonstrated this brilliantly in her famous car crash experiments. She showed participants a video of a car accident and then asked them questions about what they saw, but she cleverly changed a single word in the question for different groups. She asked one group, how fast were the cars going when they hit each other? And to another group she asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? The results were staggering, as the group that heard the word smashed estimated the cars were going significantly faster than the group that heard hit. But it gets even more disturbing, because a week later, she asked them if they saw any broken glass in the video. In reality, there was no broken glass at all. Yet, the people who heard the more violent word smashed were far more likely to falsely remember seeing it. This single planted word was so powerful that it reached back in time and fundamentally altered their memory of the event. This is the misinformation effect in action, where post-event information overwrites and corrupts the original memory. It shows that our memories are incredibly vulnerable to suggestion, and we can be easily led to remember things that never even happened. Think about how this applies to your own life. You have an argument with a friend, and afterwards, you discuss it with another friend. That friend might say, wow, they sounded really angry, and that simple suggestion can embed itself into your memory, making you recall the original argument as being far more heated than it actually was. Your memory of the fight has now been contaminated. It is no longer a pure recollection of the event, but a blend of the event and your friend's interpretation of it. This happens constantly. Every time we read a news article, watch a movie based on a true story, or even just listen to someone else's account of a shared experience, as our own memories are being subtly rewritten without our permission. You are not just the author of your memories. Everyone you talk to and everything you consume becomes a co-author, adding, deleting, and twisting the narrative of your past. Your life story is a collaborative project, and many of the collaborators are unreliable narrators, making the final product a work of fiction. Finally, we arrive at the most mind-bending stage of all, retrieval, the act of remembering itself. Every time you pull a memory out of storage, you are not just viewing it, you are forcing it to go through the reconstruction process all over again. This act of recalling makes the memory unstable and malleable once more, and during this fragile state, it can be updated with your current thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So, if you recall a happy childhood memory while you're feeling sad, the sadness you feel now can bleed into the memory, tinting it with a melancholy it never originally had. Each recall is an act of performance, and like an actor interpreting a script differently each night, you are subtly changing your past every time you talk about it. This is why a story you've told 100 times often becomes more dramatic and embellished with each telling, as you unconsciously edit it to make it a better, more engaging story. Then there's the strange case of source amnesia. This is where you remember a piece of information correctly, but you completely forget the source of it. You might recall a fascinating fact about octopus intelligence, but you can't remember if you read it in a scientific journal, heard it in a documentary, or if a friend just made it up over dinner. This is how we end up internalizing stories we've heard from others and mistakenly adopting them as our own memories. Your brother might have told you a funny story about getting lost at the beach as a child, and years later, the details of that story can become so intertwined with your own sense of self that you genuinely start to believe it happened to you. This is not lying. It's a genuine memory error where the what has become disconnected from the where. Your brain has the story file, but the tag saying, "told to me by my brother," has been deleted, leaving you to assume you are the main character. It's a glitch in the filing system of your mind, leading to a profound misunderstanding of your own life. Psychologists call the most extreme version of this confabulation, where the brain generates vivid, detailed, but entirely false memories to fill in gaps in knowledge, without any conscious intention to deceive. It's the brain's desperate attempt to create a world that makes sense, even if it has to invent entire chapters of your autobiography to do so. In some controlled studies, researchers have successfully implanted entirely false memories into people's minds, using suggestion and guided imagery. They have made people remember being lost in a shopping mall as a child, spilling a punch bowl at a family wedding, or even being attacked by a vicious animal, all events that definitively never happened. The participants in these studies don't just agree that it happened. They often provide rich sensory details about these fake events, describing their feelings of fear or embarrassment with genuine emotion. This proves that the line between a real memory and a perfectly constructed fake one is terrifyingly thin, and our brains can be tricked into crossing it with alarming ease. So, after all of this, what are we left with? Is your entire life a lie? A fictional story written by an unreliable brain? The answer, thankfully, is not exactly, because while the specific details of our memories are incredibly faulty, the gist of them is often correct. You might not remember the exact words of that argument, but you remember it happened and that it was emotionally significant. You might not remember the flavor of the cake, but you remember having a birthday party surrounded by people who cared for you. The emotional core of the memory, the lesson it taught you, often remains intact, even when the facts have been corrupted. Perhaps the purpose of memory isn't to be a perfect, objective record of the past, but to be a subjective, personal guide for the future. Our memories, real or fabricated, shape who we are, inform our decisions, and help us navigate the complexities of social relationships. And they do that job reasonably well, even if they have to bend the truth to do it. The unsettling truth is that you are not living in the past. You are living in the story you tell yourself about the past. And that story is constantly being edited. Acknowledging this doesn't have to be terrifying. It can be liberating, as it allows us to be more forgiving of ourselves and others for memory's inevitable failures. So the next time you find yourself in a disagreement over a past event, take a moment. Remember that both of your memories are likely flawed works of fiction, and focus instead on the shared truth you can build together in the present. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to question everything, especially your own mind.